Number 5. The Mystery of Aer Lingus Flight 712. On the morning of the 24th of March 1968, an Aer Lingus operated Vickers Viscount flight from Cork to London crashed into the sea near Tuscar Rock off the County Wexford coast, killing all 61 persons on board. An immediate multi-agency investigation involving both Irish and British agencies was launched. However, after 2 years of investigation, the cause of the crash was never fully determined. Many possible reasons for the crash, ranging from bird strike, structural failure, and inadequate maintenance, have been put forward, but the mystery surrounding the crash deepened after 2 separate sources claimed 2 distinct and separate reasons for the crash. One is that a rogue missile strike from a nearby Welsh missile test area brought down the plane, and the other being a never-reported mid-air collision between Flight 712 and a French-Irish Air Corps training flight. Interestingly, some years after the crash, a crew member of the British ship HMS Penelope alleged that part of the recovered wreckage was secretly removed to the UK. Reasons for why part of the wreckage would need to be removed and taken to the UK are unknown. Number 4. The Mystery of Loftus Hall. In the mid-1600s, Charles Tottenham married the Honourable Anne Loftus, daughter of the first Viscount Loftus, and they had 6 children, 4 boys and 2 girls, Elizabeth and Anne. But his wife became ill and died while the girls were still young. 2 years later, Tottenham married his cousin Jane Cliff, and they lived together along with Anne in Loftus Hall. One night, amid a powerful storm, a ship arrived at the Hook Peninsula, and a young man made his way to Loftus Hall, asking if he could take shelter there. It was not uncommon for strangers to come knocking, as the rough waters around the South Wexford coast often resulted in ships being grounded on the shore or shattered by rocks. The man was invited in and ended up residing at the house for several weeks. During this time, Anne, now a young woman, fell in love with the stranger and spent countless hours socialising with him in the tapestry room. According to local legends, one evening, Anne was playing cards with the stranger as well as other guests when she leaned down under the table to collect a card she had dropped and noticed that the stranger had cloven hoofs. She screamed loudly, causing the stranger to expose himself as the devil. He transformed into a ball of fire and shot up through the roof, leaving Anne in a state of trauma from which she never recovered. Anne's mental state deteriorated rapidly, and her family, embarrassed by her behaviour, confined her to a room in the house where she remained until her death in around 1775. It is said that from this time onwards, Loftus Hall became plagued by severe poltergeist activity. The troubled Anne never able to rest in peace. Several Protestant clergymen were summoned by the family to put a stop to it, but none could rid the house of its evil forces. In their desperation, the family, themselves Protestant, called upon a Catholic priest who was a tenant on their estate, Father Thomas Broders, who was successful in cleansing the house of negative forces. It is popularly reported that his gravestone contains the inscription, "Here lies the body of Thomas Broders, who did good and prayed for all, and who banished the devil from Loftus House." There is no evidence, however, that this inscription ever existed. Metaphorically, Loftus House is indeed haunted by its dark and troubled history. One can almost feel the sadness and traumas that have taken place within its walls. But does the ghost of Anne still roam the cold and empty rooms of the mansion as it stands today? Many are convinced the answer is yes. Indeed, American ghost hunters carried out detailed investigations of the house and claimed to have detected numerous anomalies. But it was in 2014 that Loftus Hall cemented its reputation as the most haunted house in Ireland, when a visitor taking a tour believed that he captured a haunting image on his camera. It subsequently went viral, attracting the attention of people all over the world. 21-year-old Thomas Beavis said he was browsing through the photos on his camera when he noticed the ghostly figures of a young woman and an older woman in a window. This is an image of the tapestry room of Loftus House. Is this really the card table where a stranger supposedly transformed into the devil and shot through the ceiling? In the upper left corner, the hole allegedly left by the devil can still be seen. Number 3. The Mystery of Peter Bergman, the man who never was. Not many people in Ireland are aware of the obscure case of Peter Bergman, an alias used by a man who checked into the Sligo City Hotel on the 12th of June 2009. Bergman, whose true identity has never been established, travelled by bus from Belfast to Sligo and is seen on hotel CCTV leaving the hotel each morning of the 5 days he stayed there, carrying a plastic bag full of what are assumed to be personal belongings. Bergman was also recorded on CCTV around Sligo town, disposing of the bag's contents at various locations. Each night he would return to the hotel minus the contents of the bag. On Sunday morning, the 14th of June, Bergman left the hotel, got in a taxi, and asked the driver to take him somewhere he could have a quiet swim. The driver took Bergman to Ross's Point on the Atlantic coast. Bergman just viewed the location and asked the driver to return him to Sligo. The following morning, Bergman was seen acting strangely around a cafe and at Sligo bus station. It is reported that he spent some time taking pieces of paper from his pockets, reading them, and then carefully tearing them up before depositing them in various separate litter bins. Later that afternoon, he boarded a bus for Ross's Point, where he was seen walking on the beach. The following morning, Bergman's naked body was found on the beach. His clothes were found scattered in various locations on the shore. The question as to why he gave a false name and an address which didn't exist, along with removing all identifying labels from his clothes and took other elaborate measures to hide his identity, have never been answered. His true identity, despite both a painstaking Garda investigation and the involvement of other international police agencies, has never been established and is therefore an unsolved Irish mystery. Number 2. The Mystery of the St. Michan's Church Vandals. St. Michan's Church is a 330-year-old building sitting on a site that's almost 600 years older. It is built directly on top of a number of huge 500-year-old burial vaults. These vaults are still full of corpses, stacked in coffins and eerily well preserved. Some of the coffins have crumbled, while others have collapsed into piles where corpse limbs are sticking out from a mound of broken wood. Some are even completely open, revealing the mummy-like figures within. Eerie as they may seem, the burial vaults of St. Michan's are a popular tourist attraction. Many visitors have reported feeling a strange presence, as if there was a pressure of living people all around them. The vaults are also filled with a strange murmuring noise, as if many people were whispering just far enough away that you can't quite make out the words. All of this creates a truly unique and creepy experience that makes it difficult to think that ghosts don't exist, especially for the many visitors who have been touched by icy spectral fingers during their visit. In 2019, the vault was ransacked and vandalized, and the head of a Crusader knight was removed from his body and stolen. To this day, the thieves have not been identified, and the head has not been retrieved. Number 1. The Mystery of the Jumping Church of Kildamock. Shrouded in local mythology, the spooky jumping wall draws many curious visitors from near and far. All that remains of Kildamock today is a small ruin. The displaced wall is, frankly, a remarkable ancient wreck, clearly demonstrating how the western wall of the church jumped to stand over 3 feet inside its own foundations. Myth has it that, with the church already a ruin, an individual of inappropriate reputation was interred within the church grounds near the gable end, causing the outraged structure, pent up with disgust and supernatural powers, to jump across the offending corpse so that the unrepentant bones would henceforth lie outside the sanctified grounds of the ruined church. Contrary reports claim that on Candlemas Day 1715, a violent storm caused the west gable of the building to move eastwards, leaving it standing in its improbable new position within the church. Incredibly, the wall was severed in a straight line from the foundation, which lay 1.5 feet above the ground, rendering the whole dislodgement utterly bizarre. A plaque on the site reads, "This wall, by its pitch, tilt, and position, can be seen to have moved 3 feet from its foundation. Contrary accounts mention a severe storm in 1715 when the wall was lifted and deposited as it now stands, but local tradition states that the wall jumped inwards to exclude the grave of an excommunicated person." The cynical mind has tempted to surmise that pranksters were at work on that fateful day when the Kildamock legend was born, but even today's skilled architects, with all their crews of qualified craftsmen, would struggle to carry out such a meticulous job so proficiently.